Sparky Coach Lounge Pod featuring big, sexy Tom Ryan from Ryelec.
Hello, boys.
How
Welcome
are you?
aboard.
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me back on.
Thanks for coming back on. Big commitment. And you did comment on my nail polish before. So if anyone's watching this, my son painted my. Imagine if it wasn't Jasper and it was just me painting my nails. It'd be pretty cool, I reckon. Or whatever. I was just blaming him for something. But hey, give us an update. Last time you came on, you were sort of knee deep in that. Can I name the jobs or?
Yeah, I don't see any problem with that. Yeah.
So knee deep in Jeroa, so sick south facing straight to Culburra, beautiful 7 Mile Beach, and also the Coolmon pub.
Yep.
Opened on Friday.
Just opened. Yeah.
So you must have had a pretty nuts last sort of month.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we actually did most of that job remotely. One of our guys, Matty, lucky he was on board because he just loves driving up there and getting involved and ripping in. So yeah, that was one of our automation jobs where we really tried to do as much as possible from the office here and, pre-design it and pre-build it and, and try and communicate as much info to the on-site Sparkies as we could and try and minimize our site time because it is a 5-hour drive from where we are to there. So that was a good test, actually. It was good to see how it went, and it went quite well.
Anything you would do differently now looking at it?
I'm still learning how to manage the remote projects. Like it's 100% possible to do. But yeah, I guess it's just probably getting a bit more detailed information to the on-site electricians just to help them a bit further. Like sometimes I probably just get a bit casual about like what I know versus what other Sparkies would know and just sort of assume they'd know things. And then, I think if we can get a bit more detailed info of like how to connect things in the board and bits and pieces like that, that'll probably help a lot more.
Board's easy,
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
We
Hey,
try to make it easy, but
having worked with you, when was that? 10 years ago, 7 years ago, something like, that you were pretty organized back then. So, can't even imagine how you must just be sort of tightening the screws, sharpening the screws a little bit. Like,
yeah, we're constantly doing that. Like we do have a pretty good process now where we document that. Like we even document the board and how it's going to get built before it even starts getting built here for our own guys. And then we do pass that on. But I think the next step for us is probably even making like little videos or SOPs of like how to start to finish, how to connect these boards up, just so even like the boss of another electrical business could give that to their apprentice is my goal and have them actually wire a full automation board or connect it anyway.
So good. And then what kind of stuff are you building in the factory? So how far are you going before it goes onto site?
On that particular job, it was just the boards, but on a high-end automation, like a residential project, we try and do the whole thing. So I can even send you some photos after this if you like. We've got 2 jobs set up down there at the moment where we've just got the racks are pre-built. Everything's on. It's all turned on and online. We've got all the security and access panels screwed to the walls, and we've got the automation boards all pre-built. And then we actually link them all together with their own little network built into the factory, and we just plug that into our network so we get internet. And then we treat the job as if it's on site as best as we possibly can and try and pre-program it to at least 70 to 80%. And then we pack it all back up again and we take it out to site and hook it in.
Wow, that's super impressive. What is the actual saving there? Is it just the chaos and the inefficiency of going to site? Is that what you sort of, yeah?
Saves shitloads of time.
How much time do you reckon?
Like I would put it, I reckon 3 to 4 weeks per job. Easy.
Huge.
Yeah, massive. Like I said in the last potty, we got stuck on site for 2 weeks doing one board. Now we've got like a little easel where the board's actually at like, a comfortable working height. And the guys they're down there, they've got heaters above them, they've got music behind them. There's no like drop saws with builders and people asking them questions the whole time. They just build this thing in in a cruisy environment, and it's, built in a day or two opposed to 2 weeks. So
I was watching something the other day and it said, do you want to work better? Just do one thing at a time. Like delete every distraction and just do that one thing.
Yeah.
How true is it when your phone's not ringing, when you're not think about how many times you get interrupted on site.
Oh, for sure. Like, especially when you're wiring the board and that electrician is there, they'll constantly ask you questions. Oh, can you just help me tone this out? And things like that. It's just get out of there and it's
Even on site, I reckon the access of boards, sometimes the board's
yeah,
like in a hallway and like you're literally getting up and down or moving out of the road every like 10 or
yeah,
15 minutes because they're trying to shuffle things down the hallway
yeah.
as well. Comes a bit.
Or even worse, like the pub one of them had to go up high, so that was on a ladder. So you had to put it up, up high, and would have had to have worked off a ladder the whole time while other trades are trying to work around doing the communications rack and things like that. So yeah, it just would have been a mess.
And Coolamon Pub started, so that opened Friday night.
It did.
And what? This is a great question. What day were you? Yes, it's 100% finished. Was it Friday or was it Wednesday or Tuesday?
Was
How did that go?
we left there Wednesday night and drove home. We thought we'd get out of there earlier on the Wednesday, and we didn't get out of there till 5:36 p.m. So, and we are 99.5% finished. We've just got to we'll fly back up and just do like a little tweak once they've sort of been in there for a month or so. Just there's always little changes to the scenes and just things like that. So
Yeah, that's super cool. Any job, large handover job for me was always like that big switchboard you do on the weekend.
yeah,
You always need the Sunday.
yeah,
Like always need three more people on the Sunday than you think. So
yeah.
yeah, it's funny, isn't it? The you get so much wiser handing over big jobs, and you just hit it early and hit it really well, and make sure it's better to be 3 days early than a minute late.
It's always easier said than done on the automation side, though, like because we're always literally the last person there because we need everything else finished first before we can properly test all of our stuff. So sometimes we are sort of, it's out of our hands of when we can get there or when we can finish. So, but this one, yeah, we had a bit of time, which was nice.
And how much control does the general punter worker at that? They just got an iPad they walk around with. Like, how does just talk us through how the system sort of
Yeah,
works?
in a commercial environment like that, we actually try and keep them. We give them control, but we try and make it that they don't need to touch it at all. So the whole thing just runs on time-based schedules, and those schedules just trigger scenes that essentially just turn everything on. So it'll turn all the lights on to preset levels inside in the day trading scene. All the outside stuff stays off, obviously, in the day. Music turns on to preset volumes that we've set. All the TVs turn on. The air conditioning turns on. Around that 21 degrees, sort of keep all the key areas comfortable. And then what they can do is they can add in other zones or they can ramp the music volume up. One example, they did like a test run and they brought the local football and netball team in just to test the kitchen out for the first time. And we were there and we had the preset volume level, which was good. But then as soon as we instantly had about 80 people came in at once, everyone talking, you couldn't hear the music anymore. So we just had to raise it up a little bit. So that was sort of a good test to see maybe the night trading scene, we should actually bump the volume up slightly in that scene, which we did. But you never know who on a particular weekend if there's going to be 50 people in there or 150 people, and depending on how many people there are, it's probably what volume level you need. So we give them manual control from the iPad behind the bar so they can adjust things as they need to.
And what about daylight? Obviously, summer, winter being incredibly different with what time the sun goes down.
Yep.
How do you get around that? Is that time based or like PE cell based? Or
It's a good one. So it's called a celestial. I can never pronounce it. Clock. So it just follows basically from that location. It follows sunset and sunrise. So we just base evening trade off sunrise, and that's when all the outdoor lights kick in. And there's about a 15-minute indoor lighting ramp down. So when people are sitting in the pub, they don't just see the lights just drop. The level just slowly just cruises down, and they don't even notice it.
What percentage is not noticeable to the eye? The drop.
Like you can do any percentage. It's just you got to do it over a long ramp time. So you don't want it to just drop down from like 80% to 60 or 50% in 1 second. You want it to happen over like 10 minutes.
So interesting.
So it just drops literally like 1% a minute, basically, or 2% a minute, sort of thing.
It just does so it depends on the percentage. So all the lights will go to different percentages, and then they just do it over a ramp time of say 10 minutes. Yeah, yeah.
What does it celestial? Now I feel weird even saying it. What is that? I don't know. What does it look like?
What does it look like?
Yeah, like what is look like a PE cell? Like what is the?
Oh no, it's like built into the server.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
cool. Yeah. Interesting. Or actually off like
Yes.
internet sunrise.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you
Yes.
just enter in your longitude and latitude.
GPS. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Look at me
Awesome.
still working on analog, you know?
Yeah, wow.
Crazy.
Yeah, you really are. Out of
So he's
the
like, "Where's the HPMP cell?"
Yeah.
Yeah. You could
I was
do
like,
it yourself, but
how many
that's not
HDMI cables do we need, guys? That's what we need. Okay, sweet. So and Droa, where's that up to?
very, very, very close. So the Future Flip guys are down there pouring all the rooftop stuff at the moment. Inside the house is pretty much done. So
Rooftop. So the garage is on entry, wasn't it? A drive into the
garage is entry, and then there's a curved staircase that goes the whole way up.
Yeah.
Or so there's this weird staircase that goes up, and then on the top there's like a curved one that goes up to a rooftop, which is just like an outdoor space that looks over the whole ocean. And he's going to have a fire pit and some audio and bits and pieces up there. It's going to be pretty cool.
So good. Now, I something came to me during Pilates this morning. I was thinking about you in the most PG way possible. Do you remember on the deck of Bunker House how we're putting speakers in the master bed and we got the sort of like plumbing pipe and put it in for a speaker? I can't remember what it was. Like
250 mil plumbing pipe, mate.
250 mil plumbing pipe. Is that still what you do? Is there something more sophisticated than that
there
now?
is now. There's actual someone Origin Acoustics make them. I think Sonic make them as well. They're actual second hand get now but we were just working with what we had back then. But there's proper boxes you can buy now for off-form speakers. Yeah.
So good. How did you actually fit that speaker off? Where?
Oh, do you really want to know? It was
Yeah, I actually want to know. Yeah.
So the Origin Acoustics speakers, they come with like a plastic ring that the speaker goes into, and then they have tabs. So, and usually they've got these clips that come down and clamp to the back of the gyprock. So we just took the clips off, pre-drilled some holes, and then hammer drilled into the side of inside the hole, and just sometimes you got to
And
work.
the cover would just cover up the face.
Yeah, and then the grill just goes over the top magnetically. But yeah, we call that a custom install.
yeah. Insert 30% margin here. So good. No, I was thinking about that. I was like, oh my gosh, it's wild times. Even the fact that the downlight cans are now plastic, not alley. Those aluminium ones were psycho to work with no cover. In terms of crazy, so flimsy. Now, Dave's podcast. I want to touch on that because I know you listen to that, and we both know Dave pretty well. We did his house, and obviously my old boss, and you've had a fair bit to do with him. I think you were going for a jog when you listened to it.
Yeah, I was taking the dog for a run. Yep.
And what did you think about the 900 mil switches at his house? Have you ever done that again?
900 mil is really low. It makes sense if it's one of the basalt switches that you can tap on your way through, but the 900 mil EDLT, big no for me.
Yeah, EDLT, you need to sort of bend over. You'd hurt your back.
It's an LCD screen, and Dave's house, a lot of it, like the main hallway is just all glass, so you get the sun coming in, and you can't see anything. Even when you crouch down, you can hardly see it. It's that bright, so you've got no hope. So good. But yeah, what did you make of that pod? Because I know that for both of us, RJ was a huge inspiration, whether we acknowledged it or not. We definitely would have acknowledged it. But what did you take away from that pod? Dave's pod. Yeah, just basically just like, what did I message you about? I totally forgot now. There's something about just sort of keeping it simple, I guess, and not it's not this big flashy event. Just marketing wise and all that kind of stuff. Even though everyone's sort of on Instagram and stuff now, but he's just sort of gone down the path of good projects, just looking after people and just the long game, I guess, instead of I don't know.
Yeah, and you are playing a long game in a way as well. You're just doing it with Instagram, which is
we use Instagram as just so people can sort of see. It's like a proof of concept in a way, I guess, if that's the right word to use. Where our primary thing is word of mouth between other Sparkies or architects and builders, but then the first thing people do is they usually Google you or go on Instagram, I find. And if you've got a big showcase of work, and especially doing proper walkthroughs and things like that, showing the job like actually functioning, then it gives people a massive amount of confidence that you know what you're doing and can pull off their job. So
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I feel like you have to do something well, whether it's your website, whether it's your Instagram, or whether it's Google reviews. There's got to be some element of social proofing, and then word of mouth comes in over the top of all of them, which is, if it's good enough for you, good enough for me. If you told me something who to go with, I'd be like, yeah, that's what Tom said, or I probably wouldn't even check it. And that's the benefit of word of mouth, is it puts you above reproach. Even people that got chipped into our electrical company, or even Sparky Coach, if they come in hot in terms of, oh yeah, my mate Derek said I needed to come in, it's a beautiful conversation, because it's like, well, I know this works. This person's been in here before. So I don't know, I love that sort of word of mouth, simple, back to basics, good product, emphasis on staff and clients and suppliers, and how it all sort of ties in together, but also not trying to break any land speed records over 3 to 5 years. Maybe it's a 20-year plan.
yeah,
And that's cool. That's super
whole
cool.
word of mouth thing just gives people instant trust.
Yes, instant trust, absolutely. How did you what's how did you get in with Neil? Was that through me?
Pretty much. I think
Yeah.
that was definitely the intro, and then it was actually when we did Bunker. That's where we met the client for Giroa and the pub, so they're actually the same client.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah, and that's where we met him the first time, and then obviously it's just been a slow burn until these jobs have actually sort of kicked off, and yeah, and now we're doing them.
So good. And how did you meet your top? Who's your top sort of 3 to 5 Sparkies giving you heaps of work? How'd you meet them?
It's been a bit of a mix between people sort of like yourself around the Shire that I've met physically, and then but lately we have actually been getting a few leads sort of through Instagram and stuff. So Sparkers will follow us on there, and then we'll start a conversation, on DMs through the gram, and then just over it is a bit of a time thing as well. Like we'll chat a bit, and then we might chat a bit later, and then they'll float the idea that they've got a job, and then I'll say, oh look, here's our form. You can just pass it on to the client, or have a look at our website, and then they'll send over some plans, and then so we've had a few of those come through. That's sort of how we've met the New Age guys, and some guys here in Sydney that run a pretty big company called TCA Electrical. And then we've just got heaps of others that are either word of mouth from other Sparkies, or just literally just knowing us from the area and the industry for so long.
The Sparky world is a lot smaller than you think, and you think it's small, don't you reckon? How insular the whole
tiny.
thing is.
And then the home automation integrator world's even smaller again.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone knows it. I know people. I don't know them, but I talk to people overseas. It's that small, like about what jobs they're doing and things, and people in London and stuff like that. We've just followed them on Instagram and have chats and stuff like that as well. So it's even smaller again.
So who inspires? Because you would inspire a lot of people. Who inspires you? It can be a podcast. It can be a company that you see doing cool stuff or making cool stuff. It can be outside the electrical industry. What does Tom do to fill his cup?
I do. I have always listened to a lot of podcasts, but they've actually been a lot of the ones that I've originally listened to have been more businessy podcasts, because I've always been interested in just sort of how to learn how to grow a business properly and things like that. And even like you said, outside of the industry, just other podcasts about other businesses and marketing and just pretty boring stuff like that. But I find them, if you are just taking the dog for a run, they're good little things to listen to, and you're sort of learning at the same time. So most of that stuff. But then I've always sort of I've followed. There's a couple of good integrators from overseas that I follow. And then I think when I first started out, I was following people like Electronic Living up in Queensland. They're you probably know them guys, Cam.
Yeah. I know.
I was following them and just interested in what they were doing.
Actually, we've worked with them on 1 or 2 jobs. Like they were bought in by the client.
Yep. There's another big one, Experience One, that we've sort of followed, and a lot of those guys are to do a part of that sort of CEDIA world as well, which is I explained CEDIA as the builders have HIA,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's the smart home industry has CEDIA. So just sort of spoken them through that.
I wanted to talk about awards. I also want to ask, because this is confusing to me, everyone in the Master Electricians or NICA Awards is an automatic finalist. I'm just like,
Automatic finalists.
automatic finalist. So anytime you see a finalist thing pop up, it actually makes sense to apply because it looks like you're a finalist.
Yeah,
But if you know what you're looking at, I'm like, why would you? Award is something that I've never been personally interested in.
Yep.
Ever. I think if I was still running Core Electrical, there's plenty of jobs we probably could have put forward. I was not in my makeup, but maybe that's just like what importance do you see in an award with that?
Just recognition again, I guess. It's like we just sort of use it a little bit as a proof that we can do the job, and so we've got a couple of awards just in our showroom, and we just have them up on the shelf, like not in people's face, but just up there. And every now and then people will say, "Oh, you got a few awards up there," and I'll just say, "Yeah, that's for a cinema we did, and this is for a home," and just that extra layer of confidence, I guess. Probably more important for us, like in more of a niche sort of area, I'd say.
Yeah, another form of social proofing, probably in a way.
That's what I was looking for. Social proofing, yeah.
Yeah, so good. No, I actually think if I was still in, I probably would have been. I think we had 3 or 4 Google reviews, and it wasn't really part of it. But I think you do need the wider your spread goes on social proofing, the easier it is to land jobs, essentially. And I think word of mouth is obviously in there too. And Google reviews and stuff. That's just another form of word of mouth, right? In a way. So good. Now, I did want to talk to you about, what was your favorite thing about the pub? Favorite thing about the
pub?
Yeah.
It had to be the big fans. So the client actually brought over these ceiling fans from America that run off like this wall-mounted like motor that drives these belts like through the roof, like in the air through the roof, and then it connects to the first fan. And then it's got a little pulley wheel, and then it's got another pulley wheel below that goes to the next fan. So they're just these big old school belt driven things.
Internal or external?
Internal.
Super cool.
Really good, yeah.
Yeah, and favorite thing about Drawer?
It'd have to be the cinema room.
I did see the video. That looks psycho. It's amazing.
It's a good room, yeah. Most people's favorite thing down there is the golf simulator, but my personal is the cinema room.
Yeah. Have you done it? We did a golf simulator at the Lakes Golf Club in Sydney, and it was so interesting. Lots of conduits in exactly the right spot in slab first, and I blew my mind how amazing
it's pretty cool. This is a legitimate X-Golf simulator, like the real deal. You know, it's going to be pretty cool. So behind it, he's got there is a gym behind, but then there's a sort of a lounge section, and then the golf sim. So you could just imagine him and his buddies just coming in, and the wine cellar's just around the corner. So they'll be grabbing their wines or their beers and just playing golf for hours down there.
What a dream! So good. Okay, now I did want to talk to you about. I guess while we're on the social proof side of things, we touched on it a little bit last time, but sort of the importance of social media. I want to talk holistically about that marketing, because I think Ryelec, you do what you say and you say what you do, and I think you could look at your Instagram and get a really clear picture of what you guys do. And we touched a little bit last time on the importance of Insta, but the website for you.
Yep.
You know, how important has that been in Ryelec's evolution? Obviously, you've got your what do you call it? Like process.
Build your system.
Build your system form. You've got all that sort of stuff, which is super cool. You've got how talk us through a bit about your website. Do you do that yourself or you outsource it? And then how long do you update it for? Just give us a website spiel right now.
Yeah. So we outsourced the website, the majority of the website, but then Ash, who works for us, and does all of our marketing and all that kind of stuff. So she adds to it and maintains it and tweaks it and, does all these bits and pieces. But so the original build was done externally, and then now we just sort of look after it from there. But I think the website's a massive thing for us. Like we have, the way that we built it is we have as one example, we've got a little page called Smart Switches, which has just a big row of little mini forms that you can go through, and they don't collect data or anything. It's just takes you through a process of that switch and this switch. And then, so if I'm having a conversation with someone, instead of sending them the big 15-minute form, if we're talking specifically about a switch, I can just send them that link. And instead of sending them to a manufacturer's website, I'm sending them to our website. So it's got our branding on it, but then it's also showing the particular product that we're suggesting. So it's keeping them in our realm, I guess.
Yeah, and then like how important has that been for you to? We want to talk after this about the evolution of the Ryelec phone, but how important has that been to remove you from that sort of? I'm assuming the website must save you 20 to 30 hours a week in conversations, probably conservatively, you would
Yeah,
say.
for sure. Like, just even little things like that, and just it can even save customers time. Like instead of them coming in, we can just send them that link, or we've got a big series of forms on there. So that CBus service form, like a lot of people will fill that in instead of calling me and saying, "Hey, I've got this problem," and I've got to try and explain what the issue is. They just go through the steps. It's like, "Do you have this issue or this issue?" And they select one. Then it takes them to the next step. It's like, Can you see this or can you see that? And, can you give us a photo of your switchboard? And we collect all that data, and it just comes through to us as an email.
Yeah, so good. And what like, yeah, the form. How many people do you get filling that out that are just time wasters? Many? Any?
I think it's too long. I think some people start it, so we don't get the form sent to us unless they submit it at the end, and it takes about 15 minutes to get there. So we can see on the portal where we build the form, we can actually see how many people start and don't finish. And we can actually pay a higher subscription, which we haven't done yet, to see where they finish. So we might do that at some point because we can see where they're sort of tripping up or getting over it. It might be a boring part or too difficult. But yeah, not many time wasters, to be honest. I think it's too big of a mammoth. We get a few time wasters on the CBus one, and actually, well, they're not even time wasters. Like I get CBus ones come through from Victoria and Western Australia and like all around Australia. And at the moment, I just flick them to other integrators that I know in those areas.
What is the network of integration for you? You guys in like a group chat or something like that?
Not really, to be honest. It's just I just sort of know a few, like, Electronic Living. I flick them the Queensland ones if they're sort of in that area. There's a guy called Wide by MJD down in the Victoria area that I flick to them. I guess it's just sort of word of mouth over the years, just knowing and talking to these guys and creating a relationship. And I know that I can trust that they're going to do the right thing as well. So because especially if they fill our form out, and even though I'm not taking a kickback or anything from it, I just flick it to them. I still want them to actually like look after the person, and it starts with us.
Talk to us about that. I know, that sort of referral marketing kickback land is pretty. I don't like it personally. Think about how much work we would have exchanged with each other.
Yeah.
It would be millions of dollars of work
Yep.
between us.
Yep.
Conservatively, like millions and millions of dollars. Like, don't even have a Ryelec shirt, right? Talk to me about why I don't have a Ryelec shirt.
Well,
Nah, but you will send me one. You will send me one. But no, like, what do you think about that? Because I know some people love it. To me, it's just it was always that if you do a good job and I like you and who you are as a person, I love that community passing work to each other. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm the same as you, I guess. Like, I feel like if a customer's taken the time to fill out a form, I guess I just want them to sort of be semi looked after, and then I guess it'll come around the other way one day when if they have a contact or a lead or someone that's up in Sydney, they'll flick it to us. So I'm not going to just flick it to anyone that I don't know them and they don't know me. It's just we'll just sort of look after each other, and it'll come back around at some point.
Yeah. So traditional marketing for you is, what does it look like? So how does the Ryelec name get out there? Is it just do what you're doing and keep doing it better?
Pretty much. Hey, like the only marketing we do is like I think we're on TikTok. I don't do that. Ash does that. It's too much of a gross environment, the TikTok world for me.
I didn't realize how big. I'm not on it. I didn't realize how massive it was. I can't imagine much work coming from there. I can imagine that's a good community aspect to touch base other Sparkies, but I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Is it just branding? What is the purpose of it?
To be honest, I don't know. That's Ash's world. It is massive, TikTok. I imagine it would be probably the same sort of thing, like more us showing other Sparkies what we can do, and then them thinking of us when a job comes up or if a job comes up for them. So I guess for us it could be marketing. I don't know like how much direct to client marketing that would be.
Which
But
is
honestly,
once again just getting out there and
yeah,
breaking bread with
I'm like
people and
so far from a TikTok expert. It's definitely asking the wrong person. But
yeah, yeah.
that's what I feel like Instagram is like like we've already said, just basically just getting the word out there, showing what we can do, and then apart from that, it's like website. We did one round of sort of ads like Facebook ads recently, but that's because we had a marketing like a marketing budget with Schneider. So if you spend X amount with Schneider Electric, they'll do some marketing and they'll pay for it for you as long as it's obviously Schneider based. So we
Mhm.
did a little bit of that with C-bus upgrades and things like that. But yeah,
What do
apart
they
from that,
what do they give you? How much money?
depends on how much you spend. But we had about just over 2 grand, I think.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
anything come from Facebook?
More sort of C-bus service forms got filled out, basically. Yeah, yeah. So we've done a fair few of those. Like we upgrade C-bus jobs and we put the new controller in, and there's so much old C-bus out there. Like
Yeah.
Clipsal marketed it massively when the Sydney Olympics were on, so everything's just becoming end of life. It's like 15, 20 years old now.
What is the lifespan?
Well, it's
20-ish?
just electronics, like just standard electronics would be 15 to 20
To
years,
20.
I'd
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing, and that's one thing I took out of Dave's pod huge was he's going back and reinstalling systems from 20 to 30 years ago.
Mhm.
Yep.
So it's like how do you get a client and keep them for 50 years? Because
Yeah.
every job you do that's new now is going to be old in 50 years time, or 30 years time or whatever. So your company standing the test of time is huge. You must love the old C-bus replacement jobs because I guess you never know where they're going to lead to, right? In
Well,
that.
some of them have led to some pretty decent upgrades and other things as well, like they've added stuff. So, a lot of the time it's just come and fix my broken dimmer and, we're in and we're out, which is fine. Like they're good little fill-in jobs in between things. And then every now and then we'll get one that'll come through and it's just like, there's nothing wrong with my C-bus. I just want to update it to a bit more modern tech and stuff like that. So we'll overlay some apps on top of the things and that's when you can start adding bits in like music and intercoms and things like that as well, and just get a bit more out of their home.
So how would you handle that if you came to my house and I had C-bus needed a dimmer replace? Like, do you have a service division for that, or like a person that likes doing the smaller stuff, or is it just whoever's
Yeah,
closest?
technically we don't, but it's definitely something that we're working towards. At the moment, we sort of just share it around, just so everyone sort of gets the experience in that world, I guess, because you can get a bit caught up in the big jobs and sort of stuck on them. So it's good to sort of fill in, especially like we'll break our big jobs out. So there's some guys that will look after that big job, some guys will look after that big job, and then the second big job might have like a bit of a slower week where we're not really required. So we'll just use that guy to go and do a few of the upgrades, and then we'll flip it around. So we on the big jobs primarily we like to dedicate a person just to keep the flow. So it's just whoever's really available at the time for the small ones.
Yeah, it's interesting the small ones, isn't it? Because I feel like when it's new, it's actually quite easy to do and learn, and your faults are relatively predictable because
Yeah.
they've got parameters. But with the existing, you learn so much in a rewire or redo of something,
Yeah.
or even coming into someone else's work and seeing something, then you can make sense of it. That's when the learning, I feel like,
Yeah,
can
you
really
learn a lot on
happen.
the programming side on the upgrades because everyone would program the same thing a different way. Like, how to control blinds. Some people will do it this way and some people will do it with scenes so they all go together and it's quite often that one of the guys will go out to do an upgrade and they'll be like, holy crap, I haven't seen this before, like, can you help me here? And we'll jump in and just have to try and reverse engineer what's happened and figure it out and try and not break everything, I guess, as well at the same time. So sometimes you've got to work in with what's there and make our system work with it.
And how much do you write much code?
We do now, yeah. We write a lot of Lua.
Does AI write your code?
We do now, yeah. So we use it massively now, and it's just we could always do it, but sometimes we'd get stuck in what I call a death loop, where just basically you accidentally loop the code, and it'll just go faster and faster and faster, and then you see the red light on the controller just flashing away, and then the whole thing will shut down, and then you've got to try and like reboot it, and then quickly get in there and disable the code module before it will do it again. But yeah, so these days with ChatGPT and things like that, we just make it like it's just so much more efficient because we can even get examples of code that we've used in the past or whatever and put it in there and just say, this is what this is for. This is what I'm trying to do. Can you just make this better? And it'll just go, yeah, sure, and just punches it out. So,
Yeah, for all my Google Sheets stuff, I've been using ChatGPT. It's
yep,
insane. Like
yep,
this is exactly as long as you know what you want from
yep,
it. Like I need this formula at that point, and it's
yep,
like yes, here it is. Stuff that would take me hours of tutorials and
yep,
trial and error is done
yep,
in an instant. It's
for sure.
so incredible.
And it's not always perfect. Like we'll put it in, and then whenever you write code, there's like an error log, and so sometimes it'll give us an error, and now we just literally copy and paste the error, and it'll just go, oh, of course, and rewrite it for you.
It's
It's insane.
so
Like, yeah,
good.
yeah.
And that is that how you've sort of created? I don't know if we touched on it last time. What do you call that bot on your website? Tom bot? Has it got Ryelec bot?
Oh,
Rybot?
the Ryelec bot, yeah, yeah, yeah. So the Ryelec bot so we use a platform called Zapier, which is like a no-code platform, and
So
then
when you say no code platform, what does that mean?
so it means that you can make integrations in between things, but you don't need to know how to write. Like you don't need to be a software engineer to do it. You still do need to you still need to know what you're doing to an extent, but you can do real basic stuff. Like anyone can do real basic stuff, and then when you want to do some more crazy stuff, that's where I have actually used ChatGPT to help me write little bits and pieces to make things work. But yeah, basically unlocks the ability to do some pretty crazy integrations.
Yeah, so like, if you're listening back and you had job notes on say Jotform or something, or you're listening to something on Asana, it can basically integrate Asana to Simpro or ServiceMate or whatever. But it gets platforms talking to each other
Yep.
in pleb terms, in layman's terms,
Yep.
you might say. So talk to us about the bot. Is that live now?
Yeah, that's live. That's on our website.
And
So it's still a work in progress. So basically, the way that works is it's through the Zapier platform, but it's integrated into a custom GPT that knows everything about Ryelec. So it's been prompted to never search the internet. It can only answer based off its like they call it a knowledge base, which is essentially a Google Doc that I've created that I just continually give info to. So it can scrape our website. So that's the easiest way to set one up. Is you can actually set one of these things up in like 10 minutes. You just go into Zapier, select chatbot, and then just give it your website link. And if your website's detailed, it'll scrape the whole thing and it knows everything about you. And then you just give it more info after that. So we'll get someone will ask a question on the chatbot, it won't know how to answer it. That sends me a little prompt of like, oh, failed chatbot experience or whatever, and then I add that into the Google Doc like a little Q&A.
I'm actually using it right now.
Oh yeah, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can ask it something about like a basalt switch or something, and it'll answer. And you can give it links in there to give to the people. So you'll say like, if someone goes, oh, what's the go with the Sentido switch? It'll explain it, and then it'll send you like a link to the form or like the page about that switch and things like that.
So interesting. Because 40's been running our boardroom in Sparky Coach, and I was like, I want to get you in, once a week or fortnight and run an automation session.
Yeah, sure.
But your name's actually in automation. How goes that name?
Oh, didn't even think of that.
You didn't think about that? I was like,
It was
what are we
meant
going to
to
call
be.
it? Something cool? Because the Ford, you can call it the Ford room, right? With 40, it's like super easy automation.
I like it.
Anyway, I haven't spoken to you about that, but I'll call you later.
Yeah, we'll sort it out now if you want.
Yeah, sick. So that's super cool.
No
And
pressure.
even lots of pressure. Even that bot, thousands of hours of phone calls saved, probably, right?
People can do it at midnight if they want to.
Yeah. And that might lead us into our just on that. So someone coming through the ranks. So what advice would you give yourself 5 years ago, 10 years ago with marketing? What would you, if you could flash back to Tom, maybe pre kids, you playing soccer on a Sunday and trade god Tom appears from the clouds down on a tabernacle. What would you say to yourself about marketing?
I think start marketing, like we did this actually, but start marketing early. Like even when you think that you don't need to. So I've heard some Sparky say, "I don't even need sign writing on my car, and I don't need shirts and all that stuff." But I think that's crazy. I reckon get it out there as much as you can. And we early on we made ourselves look a lot bigger than we ever were. Like we looked to the outside world like we were, a 5 or 6 person company, and it was really just me and an apprentice and another guy.
With a flag, the Ryelec flag,
Yeah.
driving around.
But like it's sort of, it just gave people a bit more confidence than like, oh, it's just this guy. And then from there we've just always marketed. But I don't know if everyone can. Well, I guess everyone can do this, but we brought Ash in like real early, like, and it was pretty scary bringing in someone who does marketing, not a non-billable person. But I think it's the best thing we ever did.
Yeah, and what is her role solely marketing now, or is it still a bit of admin stuff, or what is it?
She doesn't do any admin because we have Pam who does that now. She did a bit of admin at the start, like entered in invoices into our project management system, but she absolutely hated
Just
it.
just to fill the 40 hours probably
Yeah.
at that point, right?
She
Yeah.
was just doing a bit of everything. But now, yeah, she's primarily just marketing, and she'll do those interface packages that we build, and she helps program CBus as well.
So good. And so advice to someone, it might not necessarily be marketing. That might be someone's next step. Might be admin. You know, if, what do you early? I think early is key, right?
I think the earlier the better. We sort of got a bit lucky because Ash could do CBus programming as well as marketing. So I guess for someone else, maybe try and get someone in like a few days a week, I'd say, or like a part time even.
Yeah, you can say you got lucky, but that seems pretty calculated, you know? Like it seems pretty smart to get her to do. See, she was interested in it. She was designing something a little bit more efficient than your sexy leather, which is still appropriate. The leather
That was
backgrounds.
a good interface, I reckon.
I just picture you walking around, just picture pitching leather backgrounds to everyone. It's
I'm gonna have to try and find a photo of that and send it to me. Just so you
yeah,
know.
send it to me. I'll put it. I'll
It was
put
like
it.
it was like a cow, like a spotted cow, sort of. Yeah, it was cool.
There's a big leather era about 10 years ago that was super cool. We had a leather
I
rug.
might have been on trend. Who knows?
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, that's huge. I think the admin part, when you can remove yourself from that day to day. Did you ever venture into the VA land, virtual assistant land? No, neither.
No, I haven't done that. I've more tried to automate the back end myself instead of like, yeah. So we have probably knocked out a staff member just by running sort of automations of tedious tasks in the background.
Give us a couple of examples.
Well, the best one, so like a simple one to start with would be when someone fills out the big the form, the build your system form. It gathers all that information and sends them back 10 minutes later a custom email. So it's sort of like, thank you for filling out the form, and then it talks a little bit about the selections they've made and recognizes like the address and things like that. And recently I've actually updated it so it sounds a lot less botty and a lot more like me, because I found people weren't actually responding to it. It just, you could tell it was an AI thing. So I've updated it now so it's heaps more casual and sort of tries to talk more like a human, which it's working a bit better. And I'm actually getting people reply to the email now.
What prompt did you just be more casual? Did you give it some examples of your conversations?
The funny thing I did here, which I actually did hear this on a AI podcast, was use ChatGPT to write your prompts for you for ChatGPT. So
it's interesting.
It's a bit of a that's what I did. So I went on. I was like, gave it my prompt that I had, and I said, this is just not working. It's a bit too like robotic. I need it to sound more like a casual human conversation. And then it gave me one. I ran it, and it still just sounded a bit weird. Like, because it'd be like, hi, thank you for filling out our form at your project at your home in Vaucluse as an example. I'm like, I would never write that. So I was just like, copied out the bits that I didn't like and write, I don't like this, and just listed them. And then I was like, I do like this, and listed it. And it's like, oh, cool. And just gave me a new prompt and did that about 3 or 4 times until it started sounding super casual and human-like.
So good. There's an element where you kind of might want it to sound more body so people aren't confused that they're talking to a human. And then there's the other element that's like, no, we get no response off the bot.
Yeah. Well, that's what I thought at the start. I'm like, oh, we're an automation company. I'll make this like cool bot that writes back and everyone will be frothing. But no one ever replied. And then I'd have to write another email later being like, hey, just following up. And then they'd reply. So, because it asks, like, if people don't attach their floor plans, which is a requirement that we need to sort of move forward with building a quote, and they can or can't depending if they have them. So if they don't, it's prompted to remind them to to send them over, and things
Do
like that.
you charge for your quotes if you never worked with someone before? At what point would you consider charging like an architect design fee?
So we have like sort of two versions. We do what I call my sales design. So my sales design is just we've got all our tools pre-built in ground plan, and basically if someone sends us through all the information in the form, it's a pretty good indication that they're serious because they've gone through the process and sent us plans. And we'll just mark that up. Takes about like an hour or so, but I've built it in a way where all the tools in ground plan link to all my favorites in our system Fergus, so it's a really quick process. So I just mark it up super quick based on their results and just push that to Fergus, builds a quote and send it over to them. And that's like our initial thing. But in that quote, one of the first tool that I put on there is like a little Ryelec logo, which stands for design and project management fee. And in that design is like the actual full detailed like markups and cable schedules and all that kind of stuff. So we technically do charge for it, but not in the sales process.
Yeah, there's almost a world where you could that's another sort of industry you could go into, right? Really, not industry, same industry, but another revenue stream, income stream, whatever. It'd be interesting because, yeah, cool. And what about another automation that you reckon saved you heaps of time?
The one that saved us the most time by far is the handover documents one, which was a super technical one.
That's the one you showed us offline.
Yeah.
That sounds like it was X-rated, but it was not. Like it was, when you took your shirt off last week. No, that was very impressive.
That one's psycho. Yeah. So the first step of the process. So when a job gets accepted, so it monitors our system basically, and if a job gets accepted, like we accept a quote, and in the text of that quote it says home automation instead of anything else, it runs a zap, they call it in Zapier first, like an automation that will create a Slack channel for that job for our team, creates a whole Google Drive folder, and then inside the folder creates all these subfolders and brings in templated documents. And one of those templated documents is what we call the on-site fill-out sheet. So every single home automation job we do, it's just a big Google sheet, and it documents everything that you'd need to do on a project that you would have to put in your handover documents at the end. So like the IP addresses of all bits and pieces, the login details, the security and access codes and their time periods and all that kind of stuff. And they just do it as they're fitting off the job or pre-programming here in the factory. It's just what we do. And then at the end, you click a button on the spreadsheet, which like sends this URL over the internet into Zapier land. And inside that URL container has all the information that's in the sheet. And then the next step is ChatGPT reads it, structures it all, and then puts it into pre-templated Google Docs and then exports them as a PDF. So what used to take at least half a day, if not a day, on a big job to create all these documents from scratch, try and piece them all together, blah, 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 put all the info in, is now like we can literally do it on site. So one of the boys did it the other day. We went down to do a handover in a job in Vincentia down on the south coast. We hadn't even touched a handover document. We went down there, and part of the handover with the client is like usually you pull out all the access and security codes that the tradies know as the job's been rolling, and you change them all. So we changed them all, put them in the document, press the button, and within 2 minutes, all the handover docs are just fully built for them. And then, so you can literally just go and grab a coffee, come back, and then sit down with the client and say, well, here's all your handover documents. We do it in digital form, obviously. We can print them if they want to later, but and we just send it to them fully handed over just on the spot.
That's so good. And I think, these are incredible, but I think to encourage anyone listening back to this, you are 15-ish years in the business, of course you've got these amazing processes. What encouragement would you have to someone sort of coming through the ranks, because probably if we even flash you back 10 years and look forward now, you'd be like, I can't believe that company exists, talking about yourself in 10 years time, kind of thing. So what encouragement would you have to someone that may be really busy right now, that, they can take a day off and build something back end that's going to save them days and days and days into the future?
Well, that's exactly what I did. So I would just find the thing that causes the most pain consistently, which for us was 100% handover documents, and just say, just take a day off and dedicate a day, or it might be multiple days, to just sort that out. Because once it's sorted, then you're no longer crazy busy. Like you're knocking things off that are wasting your time and taking up your time.
Yeah, Cam and I had this exact discussion at about 8:45 this morning. So like just 15 minutes before you, we're like, isn't it incredible? You're better off letting everyone down for a day or two to do that, and then and it's hard to see in the moment. And I think in the systems and processes sort of era we're in, where it's so easy to say, and I can throw, you can download probably one of 100 spreadsheets from anyone saying, here's your 67 checklist and 80-point checklist, and here's a 400 processes you need. In reality, exactly what you just said, you need to pull yourself back, look at the thing that's currently working and you want to repeat and build that, or currently not working and you want to build something that doesn't repeat like that, and then build that. And if you build one a week, you got 50 in the year. And that's probably, I can't imagine anyone needing more than 100. So if you build 2 a week, you're done. You know what I mean? It's crazy. But I think so many of us in today's society want that short-term dopamine. I'm going to get off the tools in 6 months, and my bicep is going to be 7 inches wide, and I'm going to be this like at Tamarama sunbaking at 10 a.m. And it's probably that can happen in 10 years, but 1 year might be a little bit of a stretch. So
for sure. Yeah. And then you don't really know what you want or need until you're sort of in the trenches as well, and feeling the pain. So that, like, all of these automations that I have built are just from pain points in the business first.
Hey Tom, so just to like clarify it all, because I just want to make sure that everyone who is listening to this does fully understand that. So that handover document that gets created, obviously. So to start with, you have basically like a technician checklist as such document that they fill out. So part of the job process is essentially the checklist
That's right.
For your employees, and they go through bang, 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 and then that data gets exported out and then built out that way. So main thing I want to sort of like emphasize on that is that to anyone who's listening, is that it's not just like click your fingers and everything is created. There's still the process involved on you need to gather the information. And I think that's, again, probably a bit of a, I guess, in the day and age we live in, I think a lot of people have a bit of an expectation of, if I just click my fingers, like that will occur, or if I just search on ChatGTP, that will happen. Anything can happen, but it doesn't, the front end doesn't get removed from the operation as such. There still needs to be the hard work put into that. So unfortunately, we haven't got to that stage yet anywhere where we don't have to do anything at all, and it just gets created. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. So it's a sweet little checklist then, basically, that just gets documented out along as you go.
And it forces them as well to actually fill it out.
Yes,
because they need to fill it out to then not have to manually create their handover documents. So it's good in both ways. Yeah.
Do you also find with the handover documents, obviously in the automation space, it's essential. However, also in the automation space, being a Sparky and being on a number of jobs in 20 years, you would think it's necessary, but more often than not, it's actually not done, which is surprising.
Fully guilty of not doing them in the past.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, like there's heaps of jobs where we should have done them and we never did.
Yeah, and do you think this now sets you apart a little bit too, to different?
I do believe that it should be required 100%. Like if you're doing a massive technology installation in someone's home, you need to give them handover documents. Just when we were a bit sort of younger and looser, I guess we just sort of skipped that part because it was, I guess we had a small team, we were too busy, and it's just something that everyone dreaded. So we'd always obviously do like a walkthrough with people and support them when they wanted changes and things. But there's definitely been some jobs in the past where we haven't done it. But that was part of the pain. Was like, well, I knew that we should have done it.
Yep.
And we didn't. And then so
cool.
I often flash back to, we used to do a lot of commercial work or even resi work, and you're throwing extra Cat 6s in or extra cat circuits in for future proofing, and you always think you're going to remember. You're throwing things in, I'll remember what that is. And oh, that's at that second manhole when you turn left at that tree and turn right at the old lady. Like you're never going to remember that stuff. I encourage everyone to have some sort of documented system. The system that sets you apart the most is when a client can call and they say, oh, my two of my downlights are out. I want to add a spar circuit. Insert issue here. Pull up a photo of their board. Yep, sweet. There's a space in the board. Oh, yeah, cool. That's the 9041 tricolor sunnies or whatever the hell you're talking about. Like you know exactly the fitting, the job, the space. That's what sets you apart. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that should be expected. That's not I don't think that's an over and above. I think that's almost a non-negotiable. It's almost slowing down to speed up. The amount of times that my company would not hand over a job properly, and then you go back to change a light only to find out it's not that light, it's the other light, and it's just such a time waster. It's almost slowing down to speed up, you would say.
If anyone wants to see in detail how we built that, I've actually got that as a highlight on our Instagram. The full process from start to finish, building that automation out. So if anyone's interested in how to do it, get on there and have a look. Yeah.
What is that pulls me to sort of I want to talk about the evolution of the phone with you, but that's probably a full topic. We'll get you on again for that, because I think that everyone starts out with their phone ringing, their mobile, then their mobile goes to something else, or a home phone or landline or something. So we'll talk about that another time. But what is your favorite automation that you've built or someone else has built in your business?
It probably would be both of those that we've discussed. I'd say it would be the automatic structuring of the folders for the job, because even that was a punish. We'd have to sit here and copy and paste all the folders out, and then the handover docs. They're the two most technical and definitely my most favorite. So we use Fergus. So Simpro probably has this already, but we use Fergus, and they're only just starting to create a Zapier integration now, probably because I've been pestering them for the past 2 years to do it. And some guys finally jumped on board, and so I'm doing a little trial now. My absolute dream automation would be that on a schedule every day at 4 or 5 o'clock, it checks who has and who hasn't filled out their timesheets for the day, and then sends the people who haven't a reminder to do it. That's my dream automation.
The bane of everyone's existence, time sheets. There's nothing worse than turning up the next morning, or the admin turning up and not seeing things filled out. It's actually it's devastating. Hey, it's pretty rare of a company of your size not on Simpro, you would say.
Yep.
Is there been resistance there, or because I'm assuming Simpro is incredible when you're talking about especially electrical, or when you're selling a price book, but I guess you're more of lots of quoted work. Price books maybe a little bit different. You're probably looking at things maybe more in a labor materials sense, materials of the margin, labor. Oh, it's going to take 12 months at that, build that at that point, cost centers kind of thing. Do you think are you really happy with Fergus? Do you see yourself going into Simpro or something else?
I do. I love Fergus, to be honest. Yeah, that's probably why I've stuck around. The good thing about Fergus, and I'm not saying Simpro don't do this, because I don't know anything about Simpro, to be honest, but they got a pretty small crew, and they listen to your ideas. So this is very self-serving, but one of the biggest things that I always wanted was when I build out, so they call it favorites in Fergus. I think they call them, what do they call them in Simpro? Where it's
a pre-build.
A pre-build.
Yeah, So service may call it a bundle, is it?
Yeah, right.
Bundles.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're all the same thing, I guess, but just named differently. I always wanted to be able to attach an image of the product and have a link to it, which you never could do. So our quotes were always quite boring. They'd just be this 8-page document of just text. But they've added that in recently. So now Ash, that's one of the things on Ash's list, is just to go through and update all the product descriptions of those favorites and add a nice image in, and then where it's appropriate, put in a link to a video or something like that. And now when I do that ground plan markup and push it into Fergus, it just builds all that. All the images come in, all the links come in, all the pricing comes in. So yeah, I'm stoked that they sort of listen to me and run with my ideas, because it obviously helps other people too. And then especially that they've dived in and started doing a Zapier integration as well, that's like amazing for me.
And correct me if I'm out of line here. How much is it? Is it per user
It's per
or?
user and per like what that user is. So there's a full user, which I think is like $60 something a month. Then you've got a tradesperson, which has like a massive amount of access to all the stuff that you want to give them access to, which is 50-ish. Then you've got apprentice, or sorry, they call it timesheet only, which we put all the apprentices on, which is just basic usage. Then they've got contractors. So in our system, we've got a couple of subbies that like help us do some programming here and there, like in remote areas. We have them on there, but we only get charged $2 a day that they're actually scheduled, or something like that.
That's a cool little initiative.
Yeah.
And they get access to the timesheets only, or the
You can give
tradesperson?
them. You can sort of update their permissions to certain levels. So you can give them access to like checklists and images and obviously timesheets, materials to enter materials in, like whatever you want to. You can sort of give them, take it away, whatever you need to do for that person.
So you're probably paying roughly 700 to 900 a month.
I think it's about that. Yeah, about $700 or $800 a month. Yeah.
Yeah, cool, amazing. And would you die on a hill for Fergus?
Oh mate, if I didn't have Fergus, like I actually said this to Dav, who's usually in the office behind me. I'm like, I was just doing something, and I was like, "Fuck, Dav, we would be absolutely slammed if we didn't have this."
Yeah, and do you like this? How's the schedule pieced together?
Really good. That's actually my favorite part, because it's very visual. Like it's just got this big calendar, and you drag the jobs in for people, and you can sort of see where everyone is on that time and where people are against each other and things like that.
So interesting. Yeah, I'm on a bit of a mission at the moment. I would like to put out a pod eventually, like one on Simpro, one on ServiceMate, one on Fergus, just to give everyone a brief sort of rundown of the whole thing. Because I think that how different companies work, some companies, one of the guys we work with would be better off on a Google Sheet, like with a Google Calendar. That's how simple his business model is. Someone else would die on a Google Sheet. Like they would literally, if they didn't have Simpro, they would be absolutely lost. And other guys love the Surface Mate kind of thing. So really interesting. I know Cam's pretty passionate about Simpro, which is great. You know, you got to do what you got to do. Now, Fave Automation, like to favorite thing to work with, it can be KNX. You know, like what is that your favorite thing to work with?
Yeah, definitely. These days, KNX for sure. The thing that I like about that is it just, like, once you know how to program, it just simplifies a lot of those more technical tasks. Like I was explaining one to someone actually up at the pub. So when you have like, say you're doing a CBus job and you've got external louvers and they need wind protection. This is just one example. In CBus land, you'd have to have like a third-party weather station that would tell you if there's wind, and then you'd have to write logic. I think we did this at Dave's house actually. Then you'd have to write logic to say like, oh, it's windy. Make sure you put them closed and don't open them again until the wind, and you got to check. And then you're relying on like code that anyone's writing. In KNX, you literally get a blind actuator. You put it in the board. You wire your louvers into it, and then they've got built into them just wind protection inputs. Like it's a digital, like a software input. Then you get a KNX weather station, you put that on the roof, and you set the wind parameter, and it's just like true or false, and you put it in there. You just program it in, that's it. There's no mucking around. And then you've got options after that. It's like when the wind goes away, we either keep them closed or we put them back where they were originally, or we open them all the way up. And it's just a bit of mapping and a couple of parameters.
It's almost just like sequential logic, isn't it? If this do this, then this. Yeah, it's really.
You must love the logic when it's just true or false. There's no that must be dream.
1s and 0s.
Yes, so good. And now what do we got to get excited about? What's coming up in terms of is there new automation? What is anything coming out that you know about that you're excited about?
One of the bigger ones would be, which I haven't seen a whole lot of yet. So there's, how KNX is like an open language. I think I explained that last time. There's nothing like that in like the wireless world. So, or like appliances and things. So people are working pretty heavily on a thing called Matter at the moment. And Matter is like the standard language that appliances and TVs and all this stuff will work on. And then KNX and a few other people like that are working on matter bridges. So you'll be able to do, in the future, we'll be able to do a bit more advanced stuff like, you know, people have always been like, they'll always ask you when you're automating home, oh, can you turn my oven on? Like, well, I can disconnect power to it and reapply, but it doesn't really help. But with matter, you'll be able to actually have
I
like
see clocks flashing.
yeah, that's good. You have to reset your clock every day or every time you want to use the oven.
If your isolation switch is on, if it's not, if it's off, then you cooked.
Yeah. So you got 2 points there. But with matter, it's like an actual software integration. So you might be able to do something like turn the oven on to 200 degrees at this time, you know, stuff like that, and you'll be able to use your app to pre-do that while you're at work or something like that. So that's coming.
I wonder how much that'll get. Yeah, that's really interesting, isn't it? Where you could go with that. Amazing. Yep. And just, I don't think we talked about this last time. What does it take to get certified on KNX? Like, what is it?
Yeah, so you have to do the KNX Basics course. There's a few suppliers that sell KNX around Australia that will do it. The biggest one's probably Ivory Egg, but there's a couple of others as well. So yeah, you just need to do that. Which I think is a 4 or 5 day course and a couple of grand. And then you're certified, and then you can just start doing some basic jobs from there. And then they do have a advanced course as well after that.
And is there any OPD, like ongoing professional development, to sort of stay up to standard?
There's not actually, but I'm sure we'll get into this soon. But it is becoming like a legitimate TAFE course and stuff. Not KNX, like the whole smart home industry. So
you mentioned that to me. That's really cool. And you're part of that sort of development?
Yeah, I'm volunteering with CEDIA. I've only just jumped in, so I can't really claim anything. Like the rest of the group's been doing it for like 2 years. I've just sort of jumped in this year because they were looking for more volunteers. But so it's in the process. Like it's literally almost across the line. I think they're going to do it in Queensland first, from memory. I think was it Queensland or Victoria. Where it's going to be like, you know, you go to TAFE and you'll either do plumbing, electrical, or they haven't really got a technical name for it yet, but I think it's called a home technology installer or something along those lines.
So it should be its own trade. I would actually, I don't know how you guys feel about this. I wouldn't do any course unless your company was at a size of 10 to 15 to 20 electrician and you had the capability to do it full time, or you had that personality type that has your finger on the pulse with new things coming out. If you're a regular punter electrician, I feel like you're better off just paying someone like yourself to come over the top, because it really is its own industry. There's enough to know electrically as it is without even adding the components of, you know, wind controllers and this and blind louvers and coding and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, huge. Am I out of line there?
No,
or what do you guys?
I couldn't agree more. I think every job I've ever been to that there's problems on is essentially because either it's like half done on both fronts, and generally speaking, it's because the contractor who undertook the job was trying to do the electrical and the automation part, and essentially didn't do either very well. Whereas every job that's ever been amazing is electrician, automation on its own, and it's just like a really solid communication of like, and it creates really clear delineation too a lot of the time as well. I probably couldn't agree more. It's really clear boundaries, and you just get a better product too. Because the industry it's just evolving so fast as well. You've got to have your finger on the pulse. And I think it's like anything too. If you're not doing it every day, you're not really that good at any like that particular skill set, really, at the end of the day. Because you look at let's use a builder for example. A builder who does resi one day, like a 2-story residential house, and then goes to try and do a 10-story deck unit complex. They're completely different processes involved in it all, and it just wouldn't work. So yeah,
it's like I got a fourth year one time who'd only ever run data cable and put up cable tray, and it's like, well, you're not going to like what we do. You're not going to be able to do what we do. But that's the thing. We can do what you do because what you do is quite easy. but when you go back the other way. But what do you think, Tommy? I mean, you're probably like, yeah, everyone, give me some more money. Give me some more work.
Yeah.
But
Well,
you would agree. I can't imagine you disagreeing with that.
I do agree totally. But I also that's how I started as well. So like I was a Sparky, like
Yeah, good
started off
point.
as just a Sparky, So like it sort of has to be done. Like we're going to be in this weird stage for a while where, say next year it becomes an apprenticeship, but like when you do an electrical apprenticeship, you work for an employer that is like certified in electrical, where these apprentices are going to be coming through, but there's going to be no employers, like including ourselves, that have done the TAFE course. So there's going to be a few companies like us and or hope us shortly, and some others that will get sort of like I think they call it grandfathered into it. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
there's a few seedier courses that we'll have to do. One's called IST and one's called CIT. CIT. Well, as long as you've done them, you'll sort of be technically certified. But then, yeah, so there'll be a weird area where the apprentices will be employed by companies that haven't done the course themselves.
And the course you would think would have to be in a relative state of flux because of the ongoing, everything's updating in that industry. Like electrical runs off the same principles. It's changed a lot, obviously, but a lot of the same principles that were relevant 50 years ago are still relevant today. But home automation in 50 years will be it'll look totally different to what it does now. So hence the ongoing professional development. The course will have to be in a sort of state of evolution. What do they call that? Like a breathing course. It's
Yep.
alive and moving with the times. Yeah,
Yep.
that's really exciting. Do you love that? That's where your passion. It's like
Yeah,
a
for
passion
sure.
project.
For sure. So I've been assigned to building or help build the rack, like how to build a rack and what software to use to create a communications rack and all that. And that's going to be in the course essentially. Um, so yeah, so it's pretty cool. Like it's once again, it's you've got to try and fit that time in amongst everything else. But yeah, making it happen.
Does that sort of fills your cup? But you like
Yeah, for sure. I
yeah.
think it's something cool to be like. It's definitely cool to be involved in something like that, and help the industry out a bit as well. That's sort of helped me a lot. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I want to go back because I didn't mean to speak for you or everyone when I said don't do the automation course. So what would you not don't do automation course, but don't do KNX course if you weren't that way inclined, whatever.
Yep.
What advice would you have for yourself? Like back in the day, you were sort of part Sparky, part automation. If someone was in that zone a couple of years out of their time or straight out of their time wanting to do it, what would you say?
I just think you generally have to be interested in it,
Mm.
and at least have like some form of like leads that you're going to get some work in that area.
Yeah.
And anyone who's going to go into the programming world, just you've got to be like a patient person. You're going to have some fucking shit days where you just, like I've wanted to smack my head on this desk so many times in the past because I'm just like, I can't make this thing work. But it's pretty easy to get frustrated. Like you'll go to site. It's not like electrical where you go to site to put a PowerPoint in. Like you will get stuck sometimes doing that, and you find a workaround. But I've been to site some days where I've gone to do this what I thought was a simple task, and got to the end of the day and went home, and I didn't complete that simple task because there's some kind, like it might be a product that's playing up or some software that's not working for whatever reason, or my laptop. The biggest one is I've left my laptop charger on the site the day before. I've gone through that many laptop chargers in my life.
Your laptop charger would be the battery charger for a general
Yeah.
Sparky.
Yeah,
Megan?
it's my little Makita battery charger.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you just got to be prepared for that pain, I guess. And yeah, like you said, we learned this in the solar world. Like we didn't do solar every day, and we sucked at it, I reckon. So you just got to do it every day. Like, and that's how you learn. And really, the courses that you do will teach you basically enough to understand what it is and basically how to connect to the system and get started. You don't really learn until you start doing it yourself and ripping in and like I said in the last one, I suggest probably doing that in your own house or in a factory because I didn't do that originally and it was probably not the best move.
Yeah, but you got there, which is part of the story.
Yep.
Okay, so next time we catch up, I want to talk about the evolution of the Ryelec phone. So that'll take a while, I assume. Final sign off, Tommy. If you had one shot, one opportunity to bless the people listening, or you wanted a, you know, one blanket statement, or well, I don't know. What do you want to say? What's your sign off?
What's my sign off? I've got no idea. You put me on the spot here.
Yeah, we need something really good now. Now that you've paused in. Yeah.
I don't know. You stumped me, mate. I don't know. I've got nothing.
No, you got enough.
Coach for life.
Well, what are you excited about? So today is Thursday. What are you excited about? What's tomorrow's job bringing you? What are you doing today and tomorrow?
So today I'm just sorting out some office stuff because I've actually been rarely on site out at the Coolman. So I'm just trying to catch up. And then tomorrow I'm actually dedicating to the CEDIA stuff.
Oh, cool. Amazing.
Yeah, tomorrow I'm sort of off the Ryelec train and on the volunteer CEDIA train and going to start building out some of that rack course and get it done.
This would be interesting. What do you do for that? Like this could be your sign off when you're zoning in.
Yep.
Are you phone off? Like what are you?
Yeah, I will. I'll try and sometimes I even don't come to the office for that stuff, or I go to the office next door, which we're lucky enough to have, which is the old. It's like the old office. I'm in the new one here where everyone comes in. The other side is just like a bit of a quieter space, I guess. So I might jump in over there and pump some music in the showroom and just get into it.
What music?
You know, Crowy. You know.
Yeah.
Well,
It's just like punk rock. Yeah.
90s punk. Yeah. Brings me back to the old days when I played in my own 90s punk band.
What was that called?
Sketcher.
Sketcher, of course it was.
Sketcher.
So good. How good's punk rock? If I'm in the Google Sheet zone, I'll be punk rocking out so hard. 100%. Usually Offspring, Smash, something you're really familiar with.
Sure.
They chuck on. But thanks for your time, Tommy. Can't wait to catch up again. And yeah, don't hang up this call, by the way.
All right.
But you can say bye to the listeners.
Bye, listeners.
Bye.
Was that a bot?